Dear colleagues, I'm glad to present our solution to the Ribonanza RNA folding prediction challenge. I'll start from introducing our team, then formulate a short summary, and then we'll go into details of our solution. So all of us are students of Faculty of Bioengineering and Bioinformatics of Lomonosov Moscow State University or graduates from this faculty. Also, we are all from the Laboratory of Systems Biology and Computational Genetics located at Vavilov Institute of General Genetics from ML-oriented subdepartment currently led by me. All of us had some experience in machine learning. Last year, my team won the DREAM expression prediction challenge, and we have applied the solution from this challenge to many related problems, and one of them to be published in Nature, we hope. We observed that this solution from the challenge worked pretty well for some RNA-related stuff. And so we decided, okay, so one second. Do you see my presentation, my slides changing or no? No.
Yes, now it's changing. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's wonderful. Okay. So let's go to the next. So yes, and we have this solution called Lignet, and we tried to apply this solution to the new problem with RNA folding. And the spoiler alert, it didn't work, so we had to design this architecture from the scratch. Actually, it was a transformer architecture. Sorry, my colleague says that it still doesn't work. Do you see the summary slide?
I think when you press the slideshow, then it's stuck. I think you should just change it manually.
1 second. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's I will share the whole screen, and this should solve the problem. So I hope now you see the presentation. Okay, so also, the backbone of our architecture is a simple transformer architecture. It has been shown by us and other participants that eternal fold base paired probabilities metrics greatly boosted model performance across many variants of relative positional encoding. For us, the best working one was dynamic positional bias, and our final solution is obtained by averaging predictions of 27 models trained nearly on the whole data set with different seeds at slightly different architecture. So let's go to data processing and features. We used raw RNA sequence as an input. Each nucleotide was considered a token, and we added special start and end tokens at both ends to allow models with relative positional embedding to deduce the distance from sequence start and end, as it should be biologically important for RNA folding. Also, we used, as I already mentioned, base pair probabilities metrics as input to the model. And also, we used such feature as a SAN filter embedding. It tells model that the sequence come from clean data set or it come from noisier one. It had shown to work for our previous model, and for this model, it slightly improves the performance. We are not completely sure if this feature is very significant, but we use it. Also, for some models, we tried adding embeddings of secondary structure in dot bracket notation. We used brackets predicted by Turner fault and IP node, but both these prediction, both these features, they didn't result in any performance gains, but they resulted in they were used to augment our models to use them in ensemble. Let's go to model architecture. Actually, during the competition, we used the vanilla transformer encoder as a backbone for our model. We do experimented with hybrid models, but this didn't result in any performance gains, except the case with squeeze former, but we tested it after the competition ended, so we won't talk about it. A model uses RNA sequence and BPP generated by the Turner fault, and we use it. We additionally modify transformer encoder block to use base pair probabilities matrices as a as an additional bias, attention bias to the block. So how we've done that? The BPP matrix is passed through a series of convolutional blocks, and output of each block is used as an additional attention bias for the corresponding attention block. This greatly boosts performance, as already mentioned, and there are actually two ways to add these BPP features to them as an attention bias. The first one is to learn weights with which we should add them, and this was the first variant of model. And the second variant of model was to use a SIA block, squeeze and excitation block, to weight these features dynamically. This should result in better performance, and actually it did result in better performance. So now let's go to the training process. We used one cycle learning rate schedule, as other teams do, coupled with Adam W optimizer, and batch size was set to 128. The number of epochs for model training was relatively large, and it was determined from the data set size. For final models trained on almost on the whole data set, we used 270 epochs for model. We trained model for 270 epochs. Elements of each batch was sampled with this weight calculated according to this formula. So model were more likely to observe samples from clean data set, but it also sometimes it also observed samples from noise data set, and it actually increased model performance. We also found that training model with a simple stochastic gradient optimizer for additional 15 epochs additionally improves model performance. While it might show that we should further tune Adam W optimizer, we were unable to find more optimal parameters, so we used the following scheme. We firstly train model using one cycle learning rate, and then additionally train it using SGD optimizer. Additionally, we trained one model to predict 2A3 reactivities given sequence BPP and DMS reactivities. The idea behind this is that we are really good at predicting DMS results, DMS reactivities, and we are not so good at predicting the second reactivities from 2A3 experiment. So we decided to use predicted DMS reactivities to further improve our prediction of 2A3 reactivities, it resulted in slight boost of our model performance. But actually, I think that almost the same performance can be achieved just by using more models with squeeze and excitation block. The final, you can see that final ensemble consisted of this additional model and 15 SE models, 10 models with weights learned by the encoder block, and 2 models, they're the same as this one, but they were trained on a slightly different data split. Okay, so let's go to some important and interesting findings. It's more about maybe what doesn't work. First of all, there were a problem that sequences in training data sets, they are very similar to each other. And there were a risk of overfitting model to the cross-validation score due to that fact. So we tried different splits based on similarity, and we find out that actually, yes, if you split sequences according to their similarity, this resulted slightly slightly bigger cross-validation score, but at the same time, it performs in terms of relative values the same as the score for simple k-fold split. So we decided to use in final models just k-fold split without any need to adjust for sequence similarity. We also tried many other features. If you talk about brackets, I have already mentioned that brackets, they didn't improve the model performance at all. We tried to use different matrices from BPM matrix and for the different features, calculate different base pair probabilities metrics calculated by different programs like contrafold, RNA, and so on. But it turns out that all of them are not so good as a Ternafold, even those which claim that they are, like RFold and so on, and other neural-based architectures. Also, we tried to use metrics gathered from Squarna program. It's another program for prediction secondary structure. And its metrics is different from base pair probabilities, but it can be used as them. But this Squarna metrics, it also didn't improve our model performance. And last feature they used was K-per-R loop probabilities. They're generated from the program with the same name. And these features, they sometimes help to model to converge faster, but there is no, they didn't improve the model performance. Sometimes they resulted in better performance, sometimes they resulted in worse performance. So we decided not to include them in the final model. Also, we tried to use features from RNA foundation models. For example, we tried to use RNA-FM, and actually it behaved very bad. Embedding from these models, they were worse than just random embeddings for nucleotides, and metrics from this model, it wasn't really good. It was in the its effect was like metrics from, I don't know, RNA-soft, which is not really good metrics. Also, we tried different techniques. As already mentioned, we tried to use fully convolutional architecture from the previous competition. we tried to subset data, for example, to train our model only on clean data. And this was a really good approach, but this technique was superseded by weight sampling, which proved itself to be more effective. We tried to fine-tune our model on public data sets. It was relative. It doesn't result in any performance improvements, so we decided not to use that. We tried to use free data, but we took a look at this data, and it was really noisy. And so we decided not to use it, especially given the fact that this data wasn't available for all sequences. We tried to use absolute positional embedding. It works pretty well, but not for the longer sequences. We tried to use other relative positional embeddings like alibi and rotational embedding. While alibi is not as bad, it can be used as a relative positional embedding for model, but it usually results in slightly worse performance. Then it comes to rotational embedding. It results in good performance on small sequence lengths, but it is really bad at predicting on longer sequences. Also, we tried augmentation. As it already asked, we use augmentation during training time, and also we used augmentation during test time. But this augmentation, in general, didn't work, so we decided not to use it. Also, we tried to solve problem with bigger sequence lengths using sliding window approach. It didn't work, and it was bad both for validation scores, for public score, and now we observed that this approach was really bad for private scores. We tried to use pseudo labeling, and while it really improves the single model performance, then it comes to ensemble. This model don't guarantee any performance gains compared to model trained without pseudo labeling, so we decided not to use it. Also, we tried other loss functions. For example, we tried a loss function from OpenVesting competition. There we don't exclude sequences with bad signal to noise ratio, but we exclude positions with relatively high error. This also
Dimitri, just really quick. Well, we have about 2 to 3 minutes, so just plan that in as you finish.
It's at the end. After the end of the competition, we observed that second and third place solutions, they use squeeze former, and actually we just substituted our model, some parts of our model with squeeze former solution, and yes, it seems that it works pretty good and better than vanilla architecture. So you can see tools we were using during the competition, and I'll happy to answer any of your questions.